Hi, Eric, Fish Poker. I want to say, first off, I love your YouTube channel. It's a lot of fun. You do a very good job of showing off the poker life, but also giving good, strategic, educational content. And I realize that you are not playing giant stakes games or anything like that, but there definitely is value in playing fundamentally sound and exploiting your opponents and whatever they do wrong, and you do a good job of that.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is vlog number 16, and if there's one thing I've learned on YouTube is that life is full of challenges, but you don't have to pet tie them alone. Hopefully you guys have been doing just great in this whole pandemic, keeping your family safe, keeping your loved ones safe, and keeping yourself safe by either social distancing, wearing a mask, staying home, whatever it is you're doing. Hopefully you guys are doing a good job at it. Out here in LA, restrictions have been eased up just a little bit at a time. But one thing we continue to do, and we're gonna continue to do, is we have to wear face masks everywhere we go. Businesses can still refuse service to you, and in some cities out here, you even get a fine for not wearing a face mask. But fear not, my child. I am here to give away some fish poker masks. Yes, sir. Fish poker masks coming your way. All you have to do is let me know what city, what state you're watching this video from, and that's automatically gonna enter you in a raffle to win one of these bad boys. And if you were one of the people that commented on my last video, go on and stick around to the end of this video. Maybe you won yourself a mask. Now for this game, we go all the way to West Hollywood. We're gonna go on and play a cash game where everybody on the table buys in for 50 bucks. Now, due to COVID restrictions and trying to keep ourselves safe, we minimize the amount of players to 5 players. 5-handed is not so bad. You get to see a lot more hands. You get to play your ranges a little bit more wider. And for me, it's more fun, to be honest with you. It's less work and it's just more fun for me. So before we get into our poker hands, go on and click that thumbs up button. Go on and click subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a video. And let's get into our poker hands. For this first hand of the night, I'm on the cutoff with Ace-Jack offsuit. I go on and bump it up to $1.25, and the big blind calls, the under the gun player calls, and we go 3 ways to a flop. The flop is Jack 3 Rainbow. I flop top pair with an okay kicker, and I go on and make a continuation bet of $2.50 after both my opponents check to me. Our only customers are our opponent on the under the gun, and we go on to see the best possible turn ever. It's another freaking jack. Now, I'm trying to hold my composure here, but on the inside, I'm like... My opponent once again checks, and I go on and put on a bet of $6, which my opponent goes on and calls in a way where us in the poker community, we call that a snap call. He calls pretty damn quick, and I mean, at this point, it's not out of the question that my opponent's also holding a jack, but if indeed he is, I do have the ace to go along with it, so I am pretty sure I'm ahead. Anyways, we go heads up to see a river, which is another 4. I'm not sure if this is a good card or not, because if indeed my opponent does have a jack, now we are going to chop it. And call me greedy, but I'm not the kind of player who likes to chop it. I'd rather win the pot. Are you like me? Do you like winning pots or do you like chopping pots? Even though we could be chopping here, I still put out a bet of $12, which our opponent gladly calls. He turns over deuce 4 for a bottom full house, and man, I don't understand. I fired 3 bullets at this guy, and he called with a 4. Man, if you're one of these players that calls with stupid hands, then I need you to come to one of our home games immediately. For this next hand, I go on and pick up these beautiful ladies in the cutoff. Now, do you guys think I bet this?
Obviously.
Of course I do. I go on and make it $2, and everybody calls except the dealer, and we go 4 ways to a flop. The flop is King 10 King with 2 spades, and damn, what a crappy flop for pocket queens. Crappy flop. Anyways, everybody checks, including myself. We go on to see a turn. It's a jack. Our opponent on the big blind decides to lead out for 3 bones, and even though I'm not a big fan of chasing on paired boards, I still have an open-ended straight draw. I still have a redraw to a boat. And I still need to know what my opponent's going to do on the river. I go on and I make the call, and we go heads up to see a river. The river's an 8. Our opponent basically tells us she has no king by checking. She checks it to us, and at this point, I'm 100% sure she has no king. I go for some thin value. I go on and put out $6. Our opponent goes on and makes a snap call, and she turns over a jack. She turned a jack, and well, Last time I checked, queens beat jacks, so I go on and take this one down. For this next hand of the night, I pick up a premium hand on the cutoff and I bump it up to $1.50. Now, I've been raising with crappy hands the whole night because nobody at the table's been 3-betting me, and so that gives me a clear path to do this every single time. Anyway, everybody calls except the dealer, and we go 4 ways to a flop. The flop is 3-5-10 with 2 hearts. Our opponent under the gun leads out for $1.25, which is a freaking insult to me because I am the original aggressor. I re-bump him to $3.50 with my open-ended straight draw. Small blind calls, the big blind folds, but our $1.25 guy, he calls the remainder $2.25, and we go 3 ways to see a turn. The turn is a mother effing deuce. Hell freaking yeah. Thank you, sweet baby Jesus. I go on and complete my straight, and our opponent on the small blind checks. Our opponent that bet $1.25 on the previous street, he now checks, and I go on and bet $15. I go on and made my straight, and if either of my opponents is on a flush draw, I need to make it expensive for them. The small blind goes on and folds, but our opponent that bet $1.25 on the previous street that clearly hates money, he makes the call, and we go heads up to see a river. The river's a brick. I go on and announce that I'm all in after my opponent checks to me, and my opponent folds, which leads me to believe that in fact he was on a flush draw because he only had about $12 left behind, and that's a little bit of chips in comparison to the pot. And well, we take this one down as well. Hell freaking yeah. All right, for one of my favorite hands of the night, I'm under the gun and I've put a straddle of 50 cents. Our opponent on the cutoff calls, the button folds, the small blind, she decides to bump it up to $1.25. The big blind and myself call, the cutoff calls, and we go 4 ways to a flop. And what a sweet baby Jesus type of flop this is. I flop 2 pair, and even better, our opponent on the small blind, she leads out at $2.25. Our opponent on the big blind folds, and I'm not gonna go on and slow play this. I repop her to $6. Our opponent on the cutoff folds, and then our opponent on the small blind repops us to $20. This is the first time I ever see her do this, and man, I don't feel comfortable with this at all. I go into the tank. I take a long time, so long that if it would have been my game, this would have been my house, I would have been like,
I want to call the clock. I want to call the clock. Come on internet you play like in 1 second. Where do you come here now? You come to my game, and you're wasting my time.
Thankfully, that didn't happen because I did take a long time, and this player is the owner of the house. Anyways, I've seen the movie Frozen way too many times to not let it go. I went on and I let it go, guys. I folded 2 pair. I just know that if I call this bet, there's going to be a shove on the turn no matter what card it is. And that could potentially get me in trouble, and I'm going to be priced in, and it's a whole situation I'm not going to be comfortable with. I let it go, and I ask politely if I can please see her hand. I want to know what I folded to, and surprisingly, she showed. She went ahead and flopped a set of kings. Hell freaking yeah. Thank you for showing me, lady. Thank you. Now I can go on and sleep at night. All right, for this next hand, I'm under the gun, and I've gone and put a straddle of 50 cents once again. Everybody calls except the button, and once it gets around to me, I look at my hand, and I get not 1, but 2 juicy aces. What a freaking great hand to have on the straddle. I make it $5. 2 people call, and we go 3 ways to a flop. The flop is deuce, 8, 10, rainbow. Now that's a pretty damn good flop for aces if you ask me, so there's no reason why I shouldn't be betting here. I go on and put out a bet of $10, which the small blind calls, the big blind folds, and we are now heads up to see a turn. The turn is a queen, and I go on and fire 15 more bucks after the small blind checks to me, and the small blind folds. And as I'm gonna go on and muck my hand, my opponent asks to see my hand. Now, I'm not the kind of person that shows their hand ever. If somebody folds to my bet, I muck my hand, nobody sees it. But in this situation, it's gonna be a little different. I'm gonna make an exception because this player is the same player who showed me her kings when I asked. So I go on and I show her my aces, and of course my aces were good. She could go on and sleep at night. Everybody's happy. All right, for this next hand, I'm under the gun, and I go on and I make it $1.50 with Jack 7 suited. For the first time in this whole video, everybody calls. It's a family pot and we go 5 ways to a flop. The flop is 5-8-9 with 2 hearts. It checks around to me and I go on and I make a small continuation bet of $1.75, which I think was a mistake. I probably shouldn't have bet here. I probably should have just checked because this flop is wet as hell and it basically hits everybody's range. So anyways, I do that. I make it $1.75, which everybody calls, and we are still 5 ways to a turn. The turn is a 10. Now I love that it's a 10, but it's a heart. And the way this action's been going, I'm pretty sure somebody was on a heart draw. And so be it. The small blind now leads out for $8. It folds around to me. I go on and I call. After all, I do have a straight. And our opponent on the cutoff, he decides to go all in for $38.75, just under $39. Small blind folds, and now it's on me. Holy crap. How do I lay this down? I've already laid down 2 pair, and I thought that was me being super tight. Now, the way this action's been going, this opponent's been the one folding. He's the reason why we've only been 4-handed the entire video. This opponent's just been tight the whole game, and this whole hand is sending off alarms, it's sending off bells, whistles. I'm not comfortable with this whole situation, and I go on and I let it go. I fold, and of course my opponent is those kinds of opponent that just don't show their hands either, but I did convince him to show the camera. He shows the camera, and you guys let me know in the comment section below, letting me know what you think he had. If you get it right, I'll go on and send you a fish poker mask. All right, for this last hand of the night, I'm on the cutoff with pocket jiggities. Shout out to Brett Owen. Brett Owen, please shout me out too so I can get more subscribers. Anyways, I hate pocket jiggities. I would fold them if I could. But I did the next best thing. I go in on and I limped in. But then our opponent on the small blind, he bumps it up to $1.25. Everybody calls, and once it gets back around to me, maybe I shouldn't have limped with them. Right, I get a little froggy. I make it $12. $12, the small blind calls, the big blind calls, and we go 3 ways to a flop. The flop is 7-9-3. It's a pretty damn good board for pocket jiggities if you ask me, but after the small blind checks, the big blind shoves for $24. Man, boy, I cannot call fast enough. I know I have this player beat. I go on and I make the call. The small blind folds, and we go heads up to see a full run out. The turn is a deuce, and the river's a 6. We should be good, right? Wrong. Our freaking opponent shows 4-5. What the hell, man? It's taking every ounce of me not to be like... Nice hand, lady. Especially calling a 4-bet pre-flop to $12 and shoving with absolutely nothing and getting there. Nice freaking hand. Ugh. This is why I hate pocket jiggities.
Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I went ahead and cashed out for just a little bit under $200. I broke some bread to the house, which is what everybody who wins at a home game should do. Break some bread. A few bucks is gonna go a long way. Anyway, if you were one of the ones that commented on my last Kobe Bryant tribute video, go on and stick around. I'm gonna go on and do that raffle. Hopefully you want a mask, and I'll see you guys later.
All right, guys, here we go. First off, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to comment on my last video. Thank you. Now you guys have a chance to win a freaking mask. Hell freaking yeah. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on and write hand number 1 on that one, hand number 2 on this joker, and hand number 3 on the last one of these cards. Now, I am completely aware that I'm a freaking idiot and that I did spell hand number 1 wrong, but I'm going to go on and put each one of these cards inside this deck. I'm going to go on and give it a really good shuffle, and I'm going to put one card at a time, face up from left to right. And if you just happen to go on and get one of these cards, one of these hand cards, then you won yourself a mask. Good luck to all, and let the games begin. All right, congratulations to the winners. You guys go on and send me an email and we'll go on and figure out how I'm going to go on and send you this mask. Thank you for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.